Whether you're just starting out or you have some experience in creating amazing art, you want to stick around to learn some useful tips I learned over the last 10 years of designing in Photoshop. Number 1. Stop using the rectangular marquee tool to create basic shapes. The majority of tutorials will endorse the idea of making a selection and using the paint bucket to fill it in. Generally speaking, you can do this if you plan to leave the layer as is. However, once you start resizing, rotating, and adjusting the layer to your specific needs, you will find that the shape loses quality in both pixel count and sharpness. The better solution is the Shape tool, located at the bottom of the Photoshop toolbar. You can hold left click on your mouse to select an appropriate type. Then on the right hand side, you'll see the Properties panel, which presents a variety of ways that you can modify the layer. Select the color icon to choose no color, a singular color, a gradient, or a pattern. You can create an outline using this icon, or round the corners in different ways. The beauty of the Shape tool is that it is considered a smart object, which implies that the layer will preserve its original characteristics even if you resize it. When you have completed your design and need to go back to make changes at any point, you may not see the Properties panel of your shape, which should pop up on the right hand side. To resolve this, find the Path Selection tool. Use this cursor from now on to work with shapes. Click the layer in question and go to Window, Properties. This will bring back the original controls that disappeared. An alternative way of editing shapes is also via the control panel at the top. Number 2. Everyone uses the Magic Wand tool. Sometimes the results produced can look rough. Don't worry, there is another way to tackle the problem with color range. With the Move tool selected, hold Ctrl and click once to select the layer you want to affect. Go to Select, Color Range. You can see your cursor is now a color picker, which you can use to choose the background or color that you want to remove. The fuzziness level acts like tolerance of how accurate the selection will be. Once satisfied, click OK and now hit the delete button on your keyboard, which will remove the selection. Since your layer is still actively selected, hold Ctrl D to remove it. You can now continue to work on your project. This method won't work for everything that you encounter, but it's a favorable substitute to the wand or pen tool. Number 3. The text tool is pretty straightforward. You can type a few words, drag out the box if you need to write a paragraph, or switch modes to write vertically. One thing that's overlooked is how to change word spacing. You can open the Properties panel for typing by clicking on this little folder icon at the top. You can change parameters such as height, letter spacing, and line distance. In the Paragraph tab, you can set your paragraph rules, or click on the 3 lines in the top right corner to select Justification. The window will allow you to set the appropriate spacing. The first thing I like to do is increase the maximum to 500%, which gives me wiggle room to work with what I have here. You can hold and drag on the title of each setting to give you more precision. But to drag backwards, you will need to reset the middle amount to something smaller before it actually works. Overall, it's a simple feature that a lot of people miss out on because they create multiple layers and try to line things up like that, but it's not necessarily the right thing to do. Number 4. Sometimes you don't have a choice when working with different assets, and a file you're working with is far too small. You can see how pixelated this Google logo becomes when you scale it up inside the project. Additionally, there is a weird halo effect around the lettering. Photoshop has improved remarkably over the years with upscaling, so just bring in the folder with the file you want to enlarge and drag it in to its own project by hovering it on the top tab here. Let go and a new project will open up. Now, with the layer selected, go to Image, Image Size, increase the resolution to your desired size. In my case, I will do 1080 by 1080 pixels. The proportions will be calculated automatically, so you won't experience any stretching. Your resample type should be Preserve Details 2.0, and I'm going to reduce some of the noise around the text. It's quite bad on this file, so I'm going with 100%. click OK, and the file has been upscaled and the project is now in its biggest state. To bring this upscaled version back, you can double click on this layer to unlock it, hold Ctrl C to copy it, go back to your original project and hold Ctrl V to paste it in. You can see a big improvement in quality, but there's a little bit of extra work you're gonna have to do. So I'm going to go to Filter, Sharpen Edges, and that looks better. Now let's compare Preserve Details version to just a standard resizing within Photoshop. Wow, and look at that difference. Number 5. Photoshop has an inbuilt image processor, which allows you to reduce the size of multiple photos in one go. You can find it under File, Scripts, Image Processor. Select the folder with the images you want to process. Select the location of the new images. I've already created a folder called Processed Images on my desktop. The quality refers to the amount of compression Photoshop will use, 12 being full quality, and 1 referring to the highest level of compression. The more compression you have, the less detail will be shown in the image, but the advantage of course is the file size will be much smaller. The entire process is often used to shrink images that will later be uploaded onto a website, which relies on fast loading times, and images being the bottleneck of any time a user tries to enter it. If you tick resize to fit, as in you need to resize that file down, you'll need the right proportions beforehand, as Photoshop unfortunately can't calculate this for you in here. My project is 1920 by 1080, and I am going to be reducing it down to 1280 by 720. With the quality at 7, before we hit run, I am going to warn you that the images will start flashing on the screen. That is totally normal. Just don't touch anything and let Photoshop complete the processing. You'll know it's complete when there is nothing happening on your screen. Now here are the processed images in 720p. The file size is tiny, only 200 kilobytes, compared to the originals, which are 22 megabytes. And that summarizes some intricate details you may have not known about Photoshop. If you learned something new, make sure to hit that like button as it does help me out, and I'll see you in the next one.